myself on you, yeah.
Everything that brought me alive. Though we're all like monsters, playing with the monsters. They brought me alive, but got no alibi. It's a lover's fight without an alibi. It took my innocence without an alibi. Everything that brought me alive. Oh, we're all like monsters, playing with the monsters. They brought me alive, but got no alibi. It's a lover's fight without an alibi. It took my innocence without an alibi.
What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for coming. So many people here in the chat. I'm super glad. This is the very first ever PHP meetup about past. And I'm super excited to finally have a dedicated meetup just to talk about past. First of all, let me know if you can hear me on the chat, if my microphone is working as expected. This is my very first meetup about past, so eventually if you see something that goes out of the normal, it's because it's my first time doing this kind of things. Anyways, my name is Nuno. If you don't know me, I am the creator of the PEST PHP testing framework. And I'm a PHP developer. I work for the company Laravel, and I'm super happy that I'm finally able to do this meetup. And thank you all for coming. I see so many people on the chat. I see the speakers themselves here in the chat. But it's super cool to see so many people. We have Matheus Guimarães. Hi, man. Nice to have you here. Claudio Pereira. So many people from Brazil as well. That's so nice. We have Freak here as well. And for those who don't know, Freak is the next, will be actually on the next meetup about past. He's one of the speakers on the next meetup. Not this one, though. We have João Patricio as well. So many people. Thank you so much for coming. I wasn't expecting that many people on the very first meetup, so that's very cool. Before we get started, let me say thank you to all the sponsors that make this possible. They are Accounting, Mema, and Scout APM. They're basically the sponsors who sponsor my work, and because of that, they sponsor PEST as well. And because of them, I'm actually able to find a reason to tell my wife why I do spend so many time on my laptop after my work. It's because basically these sponsors make all of this possible. So thank you so much for Accounting, Mema, and Scout APM. You can find on the description below all the information about these amazing sponsors. And by the way, if you have a company and if you work with PEST PHP, don't hesitate to sponsor me to see your logo here on the next meetup. All right, so I wanted to start this meetup saying a little bit about the schedule of this first meetup, and it might be the schedule as well for the next meetups. We are running a schedule with 2 15 minutes talks. The first one is Hired PEST, Testing Livewire with PEST by Two Jobs, which is as an amazing mentor about PEST itself. He have done amazing work on his YouTube channel called Beer and Code. He does there some talks about PEST and some YouTube videos about PEST itself, which is quite fantastic. So I'm really happy to have him today. The second speaker is Daniel, which is a core contributor of PEST. He have made some contributions to the documentation, to the core of the framework as well. And the title of his talk is "You Know the Rest. Now is Time for PEST," and that is amazing. It's an amazing topic for a talk. After that, we have the after party, which I don't know if I have picked the right name, but it's basically a 5 to 10 minutes place where all the speakers, including myself, take questions from the chat. So let's see how it goes. All right. Freak will be the president of EU. All right. I'm going to let Freak answer this one. Next, I wanted to show you some of the recent developments about PEST, because so many cool stuff is new on PEST, and sometimes I'm just afraid that current PEST users do not see all the new cool things we have on PEST. So I'm going to just quickly show you all the new cool things that contributors on the core have been cooking for us. All right. So and I'm actually using just this Laravel news article, which made an amazing article about the recent development of PEST. And let's just walk through some of the news developments we have here on this testing framework. And the first one is higher order expectations. This is hot as hell. It's contributed by Luke and Sam, which are some recent contributors who have done an amazing work on PEST. And the name may sound complicated, but the concept is really simple. Basically, this is the traditional way you do expectations on PEST. So basically, you call the expect method function, and then you pass the value you are testing, and then you call the expectation, right? So you just say expect username to be Dries. And for example, if you want to test multiple properties such as the email, you actually need to create a new expectation, calling again expect user email to be Dries. All right. So we are seeing three different expectations, even though we want to test properties of the same object. Now, with higher ordered expectations, this whole thing becomes so much simpler. Basically, you call the function expect once, you pass the original object inside of it, and then you just say, all right, I expect user name to be Dries, email to be dries@laravel.com, and then posts not to be empty and to have the count too. So it's so much nicer to read. I'm so glad that we have something like this built in on the framework. So just make sure you are using the latest version of the framework and you are able to use this today. All right, so we also have array integration now built in on PEST PHP. This is a contribution by Freak, which is the author of this array app, which is basically an alternative to Xdebug. It allows you to debug better applications. And this is basically what this new integration allows you to do. So for example, if you are expecting something within an array of users, you can just do expect user to have count 2, and then I want to array or to debug each element within the array. All right, and then you have all the content of each user within your array app. So I'm a user of array myself, so I'm really happy that we have this on the core of PEST as well. And finally, I also would like to talk about this new VS Code integration, which was made by Daniel, which is a speaker today. I think during his talk, he will be actually speaking a little bit about this new VS Code integration. But basically for VS Code users, I am a Sublime Text user, I must admit. But for VS Code users, gives you some code snippets, which you can generate them just by typing a few characters. All right. So a very nice addition to the PEST world. You can just quickly create tests using this new integration. Okay. All right, so this is what is new on PEST. There is a lot of cool things that I cannot talk about because there is too many, but those are the biggest things that you need to keep in mind, at least in terms of recent development on PEST. Now, before we go to the talks, I just wanted to show you as well a new thing we have on the PEST website. Now, as you know, you can go to pestphp.com to just see the docs about PEST, and we have extended documentation about this testing framework. But recently, we have done a new cool thing to the snippets. We are using an integration, call it torchlight.dev, which please someone on the chat just put the link to that integration. But that project, call it torchlight.dev, gives you a way of having beautiful snippets on your website. So right now, if you head over to the PEST website, you will see all the snippets with perfect highlighting. And this is a very magical integration that is able to understand all the code in PHP and make those snippets beautiful. So a great addition by the PEST team. It wasn't me, it was a member in our community. So super glad that we have this as well on the website. All right, so that's what's new on PEST and on the PEST website. Now let's move again to my slides, and let's bring over the first speaker. He is called T Jobs, and he will be speaking about Livewire and PEST together, and how can you test those two frameworks, and how can you test Livewire with PEST. That's basically the content of the talk. So I'm going to invite the first speaker. It's called T Jobs. I just have sent them the link, and let's wait a little bit while he joins. And he just joined. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, invite two jobs to the screen. There we go. What's up, man?
I'm fine. I'm great, really.
I'm really happy to have you here. And for people on the audience who don't know, Two Jobs is a mentor about PEST. You have done amazing videos about how to use PEST, and I'm really glad to have someone like you on the community. So yeah, so feel free to share your screen and just to start your
Okay,
talk.
nice. I share my screen now.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. We can see it perfectly. So I'm going to quit the room and enjoy your talk. All right.
Okay. Hi, folks. Today our theme is Wired PEST, testing Livewire with PEST. My name is Icaro, but everybody knows me as Two Jobs, translating Uncle Jobs. You can find me on Twitter or on my website, as you can see on the screen. This is my very first presentation in English, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm a big fan of Nuno and of the way he always finds amazing solutions, all programmed with clean and efficient coding. Today, I will be talking about PEST and Livewire, and we'll be using PEST Livewire plugin. This plugin connects the test framework to Livewire in such a beautiful way. You'll see how clean the code will be. So let's think about the big picture, okay? Without a doubt, the most enjoyable way to create tests for web applications today is by using PEST. And as I've not been using JavaScript that much lately, I decided to work with Livewire to solve my front-end issues. Today, I want to show you something simple. Basically, I have created an extremely simple Livewire component, and I show how we can cover it with tests and using PEST with Livewire plugin. Without further ado, let me show you how to write tests with and without PEST. Okay, I open my development tool now. Okay, guys, to save time, I have prepared a Laravel 8 project with Livewire and a simple newsletter form taken from Tailwind UI with all the necessary structure for it to work. So I start my server. Okay, great, it's working. And this is our structure. We have newsletter Livewire component. So simple. We have a view linked with this component. We have route pointing to our component, and we have two test files. This test was written with PHP unit, okay, and newsletter PEST test file, okay. And I will test our component. So empty field should produce the error. The email field is required, okay. And string should produce the error. The email must be a valid email address. And at test.com, a valid email should be saved in database. Let's check. Okay. Cool. Our component works. The current test covers verify if base URL is working, verify if newsletter component is present, verify if email field is required, verify if email field is not an email type, and verify if store an email on database. Great. I run all the tests with the command PHP artisan test. Okay. All right, everything works. Now, PEST is a progressive framework, which means we can reuse all we have written so far, but in a more elegant way. Now, let's write our tests with PEST and Livewire, and all the dependencies are in. So we can run vendor bin PEST, which runs both PHP unit and PEST. Here we have a cool fact. Running PHP artisan test works as it always does, but now it prioritizes PEST binary execution. So let's create this same test, but now with PEST. I split my screen. Okay. I open test file. Okay. Nice. This test can be written like this. I will copy and paste, remove this, and remove the underscores. I can use high order functionality. And change the status 200 to OK. And I run PHP artisan test. Great. The test pass. Guys, if I mistype, just ignore, okay? Test will pass. So let's continue. This test, this smaller test can written like checks if newsletter component is present. I can use high order with get function and answer C. Livewire components dot newsletter. Okay. Okay, nice. Is present. Is required. Can be written like checks if email field is required. I can use Livewire with high order functionality on newsletter component. Can remove that and import. Okay. I'll call store without set the email field, and we expect an error. So I use assert as errors. Email is required. Simple to write test with PEST. PHP artisan test. Okay. Next one. Check email type. Okay. This test can be written like check if email field is not email type. Okay. I use Livewire with newsletter component. Now I set email to an invalid email and call store method, and we expect an error. So I use assert has errors. Email is not a type of email. Nice. Everything works. So now for our last test, let's use the dataset research. It will allow us to run the same test multiple times using different data. I create a dataset here using the command php artisan PEST dataset emails, for example. Okay, this command will create the dataset directory with emails file. And here I use str of Linux port, okay. And my return will be like str all lower with and string handle, 5 characters, catch at test.com. Okay. This is my data set called emails, okay? I return to my test file, hide, and this test, I write like it. Test checks if store an email on database. Okay, I use refresh database. Maintain our database clean during the tests. And I use a closure key. I am closure here. This variable emails because I using my data set now using the method with the same name of my data set emails. Okay. When I use the glossary without high order functionality, I need to import my functions Livewire and assert database has. So Livewire newsletter class set email with our variable and call store and assert database has on table newsletters email equals our email. Okay, I need to import this function and this function too. PHP artisan test. Nice. Perfect. Everything works, and the code is so much cleaner with PEST, man. Okay. In the left side, we have 53 lines, and the right side, 36 line. Okay. Uh, so that's all, folks. I'll go back to the slides. Okay. Okay. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I recommend you to visit this website here and have a look at the excellent documentation. The source code of this presentation will be available at tiojobs.dev/pesttalk. And thanks for your time.
Whoa! Congratulations, man. Your talk, I must say, was fantastic. It's not easy to do live coding, to everyone, and you
Yeah.
did a fantastic job. And you even suggested something that I haven't used it before, which is a data set with random data. That sounded to me fantastic. So thank you so much to
Okay.
Josh for this presentation, man.
Nice.
All right, so I'm gonna now remove two jobs. There we go. I'm gonna reshare my screen. Oh, which is not this one, but this one. There we go. So yeah, we just had this talk, amazing talk about Livewire with so much live coding. So thank you so much to Jobs for this. And now we will be talking with Daniel, which will be talking about, if you know REST, now it's time for PEST, which has an amazing talk title, but it's basically about mocking the HTTP layer. I'm going to let him just explain all of that. So Daniel, once you are ready, just join us on the link I just have sent to you on Telegram, and we can get started. Yeah, and Daniel just joined it. So yeah, I'm gonna just invite Daniel to the stream. What's up, man?
Hello, Nuno. Hello, everybody. Great to be here.
Thank
Really
you so much for
fantastic.
coming. Yeah, Daniel has been done some amazing contributions on the core of PEST. Recently, his biggest contribution was the JSON method, which I'm not sure if we will talk about, but eventually, if you don't, we can talk on the after party. But I'm going to leave the stage to you, so feel free to share your screen, and we are ready to go. All right, man. I think it's perfect. I'm going to leave you, so enjoy your talk.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first online meetup of PEST. My talk, as Nuno said, is You Know the Rest, and now it's time for PEST. Buona tarde. I'm Dan. That's short for Daniel. I'm a system analyst, originally from Brazil, and now talking to you from Barcelona. My Twitter handle is DanSysAnalyst, so come and say hello. I really like to meet people. It's really cool to be part of the community. So let me quickly define what is REST, because maybe someone doesn't know. We can just say that REST is the format of the message that will be delivered by an API. And we commonly see REST together with HTTP protocol and JSON as a data standard. An API, we can also again quickly define it as a collection of software functions and procedures which will allow two programs to communicate and exchange data and features. Now, a very common analogy for API is a restaurant where the guests come, choose the food they want from the menu, communicate to the waiter who's gonna write a ticket, again in a designed form, and send to the kitchen. The kitchen is then gonna cook, give back to the waiter, who takes back to the table. And the client, the guests, never talk to the server directly, the kitchen. It talks through the API. It's like a middleman, we could say. And then we place an order. So I ordered a pizza. And when I order a pizza, I have some expectations, right? First, I want to be served a pizza, which is quite obvious, but for me, sometimes writing tests is about writing what's obvious. And I want this pizza to be baked, and I want it to have cheese, and not to contain pineapple. So guys, if you never wrote tests with PEST, it's basically this. This screen shows exactly how you code. It's like talking to humans. You write code in human language. But testing REST APIs can pose some limitations and requirements, like you buy this access and it has a limitation, so you can only call it a couple of times a day, for example. Or you have to pay per each request. Or maybe there is no sandbox, which means there's no testing. And if you send something to this API, it's going to affect the real world. Like, I don't know, send the mail to a bunch of people, which just happened last week, I think, no? Also, you can have the API credentials, which you don't really fancy sharing with people because it's private, or because they have, you have like an outsourced design development team, and you don't want to really give access them to your real data, to your real thing. And less of a problem. Sure, nowadays internet access is required, but let's say if you're a tech nomad and you are traveling Europe by train, well, some points you don't have internet and you may want to do some work. Now, I would like to share with you guys what I have been playing with to bypass these limitations and test my APIs with PEST, or external APIs with PEST. And guys, if you like it, start on both repositories. Let's do some coding. So I have here a simple service that is going to consume an API and is going to check telephone numbers. So a very important thing to mention here is there is a function which allows us to set the URL and overwrite this. So it's not coupled to an URL. And then we have here a function which is going to validate a number by calling the API and get something. So here we can do some spying. Let's just say, since it returns, it makes here a request, let's do some spying and let's dump the URL that is being called. Let's dump the response. We get the status, oops, and we get the body too. Organize this code so it's a little bit pretty. Okay, so we're gonna do some spying here, and then we run to the tests. So, okay, this is the basic structure for a it function. It could also be written with test. But there's something cool here, which Nuno was spoiling. It's the extension for snippets. So instead of typing all of that, I could come here and type pit, P-I-T, or maybe I could just do a pet, PT, and get the function test right prepared for us. I'm more of a it guy, I have to confess. So let's write the first test. So let's say it returns valid equals true for a valid number. And for me, tests are about preparing, act, and confirm our expectations, like in the restaurant example. So something's going to be ordered, prepared, cooked, and then we're going to confirm that this is what we want. And since we're going to have a telephone number, I can already ask here for a telephone number or prepare it, and I know we're going to be using Toriga Phone, which is the service that is going to consult Toriga API. So this is the setup. I need here a telephone number, which my terminal kindly gives to me. Okay. And my first action is going to be to ask this service then to validate this phone number. And we expect what's going on later. This is going to return us something, so let's store on the response variable, and let's DD, which is an amazing tool, whatever response brings. Now, to run PEST, as Job said, you can call vendor bin and test, but I use it so much that I have an alias here, which is just P. And okay, we got a couple of things here which we're spying on. So we can see that our service went to the API at this URL here. Let's just keep it here for later. We can see it has status 200, which means okay, the request went okay. Some of you might be very familiar with the 404, which means not found. And then we got here from our DD collection. Okay, in this collection, I already see here something that I can quickly use and mark what is the body of my service. This is returned from the API. So I just put here some commas and I have PHP code. All right, so we know it's going to the API, it's giving me a bunch of stuff. And as I said, this right now is actually consuming maybe my credit, or it's maybe, I don't know, I have 100 access and now I have only 99. And if I'm doing TDD, maybe I'm consuming too much, or I don't know. So is there a way to really bypass this? And that's what I would like to share with you guys. That I'm really, really in love with this package. So here, we're gonna do the following. We need to get something to serve this to us instead of going to the real API. And for this, I am going to bypass and call bypass here and ask me bypass to serve me something. And I want bypass to serve me a route. What kind of route? Well, I know we have an OK here. So the helper already gives me a 200 status on method get. Then I need to give it a URI. And I need to say that we have a body here. Okay, body, it's easy, we already seen it. Let's import the classes. When I import the classes, basically, what it does, okay, the route is a CIA race bypass route. When I import it, we get to use, VS Code just completes this for me. So I'm getting here bypass to serve me something and add some URI. So I know I do not want to get the Turing anymore, and I want to get this. This is the part that really interests me. And since I already marked the phone number here, I'm going to just, instead of hard code, I'm going to write here, phone number. All right, let's clean up a little bit. So what bypass is going to do? Bypass is going to call the PHP -s and brings us a server returning this body here. And the server automatically shut down when the test stops. So now it's time to just get the service. By the way, let me just do something. Since it was a collection, I'm going to get here all, so I can work with an array for my expectations. And I need to actually tell my service. Remember, I mentioned that we have the set base. It's a lot of emotion to be here. So set base URL, I need to put here an URL that is not the API, but is the bypass. So to get this URL, I'm gonna simply say bypass get base URL. So bypass is gonna generate for me a URL with a random port and add to this string here. And this string here is gonna be given to my service. So my service is gonna eat from there and not eat from the kitchen of this API. So here I get the response, and let's see what happens. Again, a DD. Some. All right, so we now got an array, but we see that here now, instead of the Turing API, we are reaching localhost and not anymore consuming an API that is external. So my service is pre-cooking, my bypass is pre-cooking something and feeding my service. And now we can have fun with PEST and start to make some expectations. So I type here PEX, which is gonna complete expect for me. I'm gonna expect what? The response. So it's an array. Let me just see. Say I wanna order. So amazing. I want to say, I want to expect that, let's see, country code, PT, and we have a rate. Let's say the rate has to be float. So I'm not sure if the service would actually give something greater than 0, because you might have a telephone call that is 0 price. Okay, let's see what happens. Test passing. So now, as you guys can see here, my test is running not on the API, but on localhost, and I get the same experience as if I was consulting it. And this is, for me, really, really cool. And another thing that I found absolutely amazing is that, well, when we consume an API, we have to go to the website, create an account, wait for them to validate or take my payment, and so on. And with bypass, we could again bypass that. Leandro Henrique showed me that, and I was really, really amazed. So I can simply come to, let's say, the documentation here. This is they give me an example, right? So I can just copy this JSON here. And again, we come here, use this JSON as body, and I could use PEST. Since I copy and paste from the website, I just want to make sure that this body is actually JSON. So this here is going to make sure this string is a valid JSON string and parse into an array. So now I can go for higher order, and I can say that I expect, for example, the query to be my phone number. So why I'm doing this? Because, I don't know, maybe the website has some wrong data, and now it saved me some time instead of trying to figure out what's the JSON here. And not Portugal. Basically, I don't need to create. There I go. There we go. This is absolutely cool for me. So much time. The good thing about bypass, I cannot forget to say, bypass has this assert route. So assert routes on bypass is going to make sure that this route here is being called by my service. So when I test, very well. Now instead, if I write here, Leandro, Henrique, thank you, my service is not programmed to ever consume Leandro, Henrique, thank you. So what's going to happen here when I test? We're going to get an exception saying that we were actually I'm getting a 500 because why I'm getting a 500? Why it's giving me? I should be getting here something else. So, okay. Basically, if this route is not called, I would get an exception, but I will move on because I don't have too much time. Guys, so to continue here and just say that the benefits to me are that I have now a test which is really going to an HTTP request and is not coupled to a particular HTTP client and running without any external dependencies. Also, I could say that it's a little bit more secure because I don't have any API key on my code, and I could just put this on GitHub now and nobody would access my real stuff. And with PEST, it's so much quicker to write tests and it's so joyful. I really like it. And I want to say now, thank you very much, Nuno. Obrigado. And thank you to some very nice guys that have been helping me a lot on my journey. So Kaneko, logo, amazing. And thank you guys, thank you the team for so much support. Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Vagelis. Thank you, Luke. Guys, also sponsors. If your company is using PEST and you can talk to someone there that is responsible, they can sponsor the project very well. You can also sponsor these guys Open source is made by people with great passion, and they deserve some passion back. If not as a sponsor, tweet about PEST, tweet about the event, spread the word. And finally, that's it. Thank you so much for watching my talk, for giving time to us. The source code and some other tests are on my GitHub, so you can check there, PEST by PEST, and to the after party. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Great talk, Daniel. Can you hear me correctly?
Yep, very well.
Okay. Great talk. Thank you so much.
First live coding ever.
It was? Oh, it didn't sound like so. I did an amazing job. Thank you for that. Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen, and then let's just have a quick chat about some questions you may have from the audience. So people on the audience, just put some questions there. All right. We may take some of those questions now. I'm going to just invite again 2 jobs to our stream. And meanwhile, let me announce that this was the first PEST PHP meetup, but we have one next month, which will be the PEST Meetup number 2. And the speakers will be Freak, which was the author of the reintegration. He's the owner of Spatie, and he have made some PHP and Laravel contributions, which is quite nice. And the second speaker is Luke Dowind, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he had made an amazing contributions to the core of PEST, more precisely the high order expectation stuff, which Daniel and T Jobs made great references today. And yeah, thank you for that. So yeah, next PEST PHP meetup will be next month. So I'm going to post stuff on Twitter. If you don't follow me yet, just follow me now, and we are going to talk about that in the future. So yeah, after party. So basically, this is just a period of 5 to 10 minutes where we just discuss some stuff. I do have some questions myself to the speakers today. So if you have as well some questions, feel free to make them. And the first thing I would like to ask to 2 jobs is actually about the data set with random data, because I saw that during your live code, you have just created data set of emails, but previously, like, my way of approaching that would be just putting a fixed elements of array, so of emails. So basically, I would put just my own email, the email of my boss, for example, and that's it. But you have used an approach which is quite nice, which is a random array of emails. That was very cool. Did you got that idea from somewhere, or just something that you personally use in your tests?
Okay, thank you.
Do you personally use that in your tests in PEST, or?
Yeah.
Okay. And the second thing it come to my mind as well was during Daniel's talk. I wanted to ask you, Daniel, if this approach of using the bypass to kind of mock the HTTP layer, did you grab that idea from, not you, but the author grabbed that idea from someone else, or?
Yeah, Leandro Henrique, he's in the chat right now.
Okay.
He was inspired by Elixir, but honestly, if I have to say, he did a better job, because Elixir doesn't have these route helpers. You would have to, bypass has 2 ways to work. You could add a route, then enter there 200, get, and so on. But with these helpers, it's so quick and so nice. So Leandro Henrique is a star.
Nice. And I saw that you can call this assert routes. So basically, you can also, for example, call methods within the bypass. For example, you can call expect route to be called or something, or?
Yeah, the expect route, I don't know why I got a 500 there, but expected route, expect routes, is going to check if your route was actually consumed by the server, by the service. So I could declare, for example, check the phone, or, I don't know, log in. And if my service, or if I forget to code a request to any of these routes, bypass should tell me, well, the route login expected 1 call on get, but no calls were detected. So it stops you. I think for TDD is awesome.
Nice. So it's basically like a mocking library, but just for the HTTP layer. That's pretty cool. So I think I'm gonna use that. I do have some use cases for that. So yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Nice. And I do have another question for you, Daniel, about your VS Code snippets. It's not like a question, but more a suggestion. Because right now we do have like two VS Code snippets, two VS Code integrations. The first one is the one made by Miguel, which is a Laravel community member. He have done a VS Code extension where basically you have some shortcuts on the keyboard that do fire some tests. And we now have this one that have some snippets for VS Code as well. And I was wondering if there is a way of merging in them together, you know?
I think it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a cool idea, yeah.
Yeah,
because it's easier, yeah.
Yeah, because right now I feel that people do need to install two integrations, and just having maybe those two features in the same place will basically just make things a little bit more easier, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna reach out to Miguel and see what he thinks about it. But for sure, yeah, cool idea.
All right. So I have one more question for each of you guys, for T Jobs and Daniel. When was the first time you got introduced to PEST?
Oops. Could you respond?
Yeah. So I was asking you, when was the first time you got introduced to PEST, and if you, for example, use it currently professionally already?
Yeah, we using in the employee, in the Prepara Todos employee business company when where I work today, and I'm using the PEST about the 2 months.
All right. Nice. So you are quite new to PEST, let's say, but you already have done some workshops around PEST, which is quite nice since you are new to PEST. So how about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember, but I probably got to see one of your talks, and then it recommended me PEST, and I was like, what is PEST? And I was not very much involved to test. I understand very well, but I never really got my hands on.
Yeah.
So I first talked that, oh, this looks good. I have to try it. And it's so quick and so nice to code that, well, here I am.
I'm happy for you, man. I got the same feeling when I was first writing PEST. So the very first lines of code around PEST, I also got in love with the idea immediately. And I thought, all right, I'm going to use this thing for the rest of my life for sure. Because, but yeah, I do understand that some people are just starting now with PEST, and that's perfectly normal because they didn't got the chance to test PEST before. Now,
I have a question for you.
Yeah,
a very good question. Did you really start to code PEST in the airplane traveling?
Yeah, how do you know that history? That's actually true. So basically, I went to Laracon US, which is a conference about Laravel on US, and on my way back, I remember that I had like 10 hours to kill on the plane, and I thought I was doing tons of JavaScript at the time. So I decided that I wanted to basically have the same thing on PHP, and there wasn't such a thing, you know. So I just decided to code. I've done a POC on the plane actually. The POC is still available. If you look for GitHub Nunu Maduro /PEST, you still will find that POC. It's way less improved than PEST at this current moment, but at least it's a POC. All right, let's take a question from the chat about bypass. Matthews Santana is asking if it's possible to simulate bad responses using bypass.
Yes, Mateus, very good question. Bypass allow you to use add route, and then you can simulate whatever you want, any status code you want. And there is the helpers, which have bad request, server error. Now, off my head, I will not remember.
All right, back. All right, I think Daniel is out for a little bit, but basically he's saying, from what I was able to understand, is that you are able to simulate bad responses, And basically, bypass do provide some helpers that you can use, such as the routes helper to basically just ask for a bad response from the bypass server, which is quite nice.
Guys, can you hear me? I think my
Yeah,
connection
you
got a
went
little
down
bit
for a
weird.
little bit, but I think I was able to answer for you that one.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you were lagging a little bit, but that's okay. I think so. Basically, I was just saying that if you want to give the answer right now, it's okay.
Yeah, well, bypass has the helpers, which you're gonna get their bad request, unauthorized, server error. There's a bunch, not found, not allowed, validation failed, too many. Well, that's off of my head. So instead of you remembering which code represents too many, for example, you just write there too many, or which code represents not found, you write there not found, or any custom route, you just use add route and give whatever status code and method you want.
Yeah, you give a better answer than me, though. We have another question from the chat, and this one is a particular question that I would like to address today as well, which is, do you think it might be easier to learn PHP unit first so you have more resources for learning? Well, this is a very good question. It is really about where exactly I want to positionate PEST on the PHP ecosystem. Now, something that we need to keep in mind is that there is way more people that do not know about testing than the people who know about PHP unit right now. And so it's easier for us if we are going to plan to build more material about PEST. It's easier for us if we do that material for people who haven't test before. Because right now the talks that I see about PEST, basically people show PHP unit examples, and this is how you do in PEST. Like basically assuming that people on the audience already know about testing, and this is quite often when we see talks about, even myself, the very first talk I give about PEST was basically like this: you can do this in PHP unit, and this is the way you do in PEST. Like my very first talk was like this. And more people are coming and basically doing this kind of talks, which is, all right, PHP unit is like this is the way you do it in PEST. And I do believe that the easiest way to talk about PEST is just giving all this information to people who haven't tested or haven't touched on testing before. I think that will work a little bit better in terms of the message that we are trying to pass, which is testing is not difficult. Testing, it doesn't have to be complicated. And with PEST, things are just easier. You can easily get started. So to answer David's question, I do think that you can start with PEST easily. It's just a normal testing framework, just like PHP unit. But in our opinion, it's probably a little bit more simpler.
Yeah, you can basically paste some assertion from PHP unit into PEST, so it's not like you're speaking two different languages.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well, is that sometimes people think if I learn PEST, maybe I will not be able to use PHP unit in the future because people work with legacy projects, for example. And that's a very good point. And something to keep in mind is that when you learn PEST, basically you will find all the same thing on PHP unit, but written in a little bit in a different way. But it doesn't change that much, Basically, we'll learn PHP unit in 5 minutes because the concepts about testing are the same, You write functions in PEST, in PHP unit you write methods. You write expectations in PEST, in PHP unit you write assertions. But the concepts around testing, they are pretty much the same. And yeah, I want you to personally say thank you to Daniel and to Two Jobs to be with us today. This was the first PEST meetup. Things could go wild, because we are setting this platform, StreamYard. We are just doing this for the first time. So I'm really glad that you have the courage to talk about PEST and just to show all those amazing concepts in the very easy way. So thank you, Two Jobs. Thank you, Daniel, for coming today. And for the audience, thank you so much for everyone. It's coming. We had like 60 users, 60 users concurrently watching the stream, which is quite fantastic. And the way that you guys give the talks today was pretty amazing. Tons of live code, exactly how I did imagine the first PEST meetup. So thank you for that. Thank you for the audience for being in that side. And if you like this meetup, if you like this format, if you want to see more PEST meetups in the future, do not hesitate and share your feedback on Twitter. I'm going to check that feedback and potentially improve the whole format of this meetup in the future. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And yeah, see you next time.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you so much. Thank you.
I will free myself from